Welcome to the Kingdom. I'm Chris, and this is Good Enough Gaming. All right, howdy folks, welcome back to the Kingdom. We got some regiments today. John is back in the house.
Yo.
And he has brought his Havoc Dwarves, which last time they were here, they dealt a close but still piercing defeat on my Dwarves.
It was a Pyrrhic victory.
It was a Pyrrhic victory.
The best kind.
But it was still a victory for him. Anyways, so he has brought back his Havoc Dwarves. I have got my Undead. Since they saw some table time with that game against Josh, now I'm itching to put them out a little bit more. But we're playing a game of Regiments, 3,000 points, and we're going to try two different things. So please leave comments below as you watch the video to let me know what you think. So the first thing we're going to change is I'm trying a new format for the videos that I'm calling Big Battles, Little Batreps. Since a 3,000 point game can take a very long time, and I don't think anyone wants to watch a 2-hour battle report, we're going to shrink it. So it's going to mostly be turn summary. So we'll still do army composition and all that. But rather than show every dice roll, every movement, all of that, we're going to play out a turn and then just show how the turn ended. The other thing that we're going to try is using the advanced rules it's called phased battles. So this is in the advanced rulebook. And I think I don't know if it's in the rulebook for Grimdark Future and Age of Fantasy, just the normal game, but it's in the Regiments one. And we do the turns more simultaneously. So rather than John picking a unit and he moves and shoots and fights, and then I pick a unit and move and shoot and fight, we do the movement phase for both our armies. Then we do the shooting phase for both our armies. Then we do the melee phase and we do it simultaneously. So we'll see how that works. What, John, you said it was kind of like...
It's like the Middle-earth strategy battle game where player A does full movement, player B does full movement. Shooting, you said, is still alternating.
It's still alternating.
Side to side, so that's a little different. But then combat's at the end. So if you've played The Lord of the Rings, it's going to be very similar to that.
Yeah. So we're trying it out. It's something different, because to me that just feels more like what a rank and flank game would be, rather than all these units acting super individual. So we'll test it out. We'll let you know at the end whether it was worth it or whether it stunk. So, and as always, put in your comments and let us know. So here is the battlefield we are playing over. But we're going to be playing the mission Domination. We'll get over the details of that in just a second. But 3,000 points of Undead versus Dwarves. Let's get to the armies. So we've got 3,000 points of Dwarves.
Yeah, it's a lot of little people. So naturally, we'll start with the things that are not little. We have the 3 flame spirits over here with their flamethrowers to spit fire at you and punch things.
Yeah, I remember them from the last game. I don't like them.
Yep. Brick of 20 warriors, hand weapon shield, nothing fancy. 10 immortals with great weapons and regen.
Of course.
And a iron champion with Blackheart, so they have an additional 6-up save, and if it's from a spell, it's a 2-up.
Oh, wow.
So they have a 4-up, 5-up, 6-up.
Okay.
Amazing. Awesome toughness 6 mortar with 2 shots, AP 1, blast 3.
I remember that from the previous game. The model,
it looks so big.
Hold on, let me get a side view here. The model does not match the profile. It just doesn't. John and I were actually talking about this before. Whereas GW suffers from power creep, OPR tends to suffer from power wither, or what's the opposite of creep? So, yeah, unfortunately, great looking model, but it just goes pew-pew.
So this is my second unit of Immortals with a Abyssal Lord with Caster 2.
Okay.
First, Rocket Battery, Havoc Artillery, only tough 3, so not terribly scary. But has the same weapon as this.
Oh, same weapon as
Same
the
weapon.
massive artillery, but only 3 wounds. Okay.
So they're just 2 units of shooters. These guys have shotguns. These guys have rifles.
Okay. And then another artillery,
Yep,
exactly
other artillery,
like the other.
Exactly the same. 20 more warriors with a Abyssal Leader with charged shields, so they have regen. This unit is 3 Bull Centaurs with a Bull Centaur champion attached. The Bull Centaurs, unlike the last game where I had Dwarf Centaurs, these are tough 3, but they do not have regen. This is the second Siege Wagon with the Twin Cannon, so 2 attacks, AP2, Deadly 3, followed by the 1 proxy in this, because I do not have a Giant Rhinoceros, which I know people will be surprised by. The old Dark Elf Hydra is running as the Giant Rhino. It's Fear 2, Tough 12, Fearless, 2 attacks, AP3, Deadly 3 with the Horn, and then 4 attacks, AP1.
Okay. Who's the dude on the
This
right?
is a lone Bull Centaur champion who's just hanging out by himself, being cool.
No pun intended. So, for the Undead, same thing. We'll start with the left flank, and then we'll move on over. So, first off, I have a unit of 3 werewolves. Now, I know the 2 on the ends, at least the ones in the base there, those are definitely werewolf models. The guy in the middle, I didn't have a third werewolfy type figure.
He has plenty of fur on him. He's fine.
He's more like a zombie, but that's okay. And they are joined by a werewolf champion. So he's the one kind of not on the base itself. But the werewolves each have 3 attacks at AP2, and their toughness 3. So that unit alone tosses out a lot of attacks. Scout, Strider, and toughness 3. The werewolf champion, he gets 6 attacks all by himself. They're only AP1, but they are rending. Moving on, first unit of Skeleton Guard. We got a skeleton champion joining it. And now that I'm looking at it, I believe I may have to reduce. I think they're only up to a unit of 10, and I've got them in a unit of 20. I may have to fix that.
And you were just bragging about going deep with your units.
I was bragging about going deep, but I can't go deep anymore.
Yeah,
The
well,
rules
there's
say no.
2 units of 10 just right on top of each other. It's
I'm
fine.
getting blocked. Okay, so the Skeleton Guard, they are protected, so they ignore the first AP. Oh man, they're going deep protected. This is not good.
You have the wrong Watson in this
I
game.
have the wrong Watson here. Anyways, full command Sergeant Musician banner. I equipped them with cursed heavy spears, so they do have both counter and reap. So whether you charge them or get charged, you're going to be fighting last.
Bold of you to assume I'll get in melee when I can just shoot them off the board with my superior dwarven
That's true.
artillery.
I have 0 ranged. I think, other than maybe my hero, but I don't have a whole lot of range. On the right, next to him, is a unit of zombies, full unit of 20, with a, what did I have him? He is a Drained Leader, and again, I'm not going to touch that one. Drained Leader. So, he is a hero. I made him a caster, level 3. So basically, the zombies are there just to be health for him, but he's going to be throwing spells. That's going to be some of the few ranged attacks that I actually have. So I equipped him as a Master Necromancer. Holding the center are the 2 center pieces, don't you know? So I am bringing the model for Nagash.
Nerd.
Yeah, but he's actually only being run as a Titan. He's supposed to be a Butcher Titan. For those of you who have the Patreon, the Butcher Titan STL is coming up as, I think, or unless it's already been handed out, it's one of the reward if you've been a Patreon for a long time. And it looks kind of like if you played Warcraft 3, it looks like the Abominations from that. It actually is a really good looking model. But for this case, I'm using Nagash as a proxy for a Butcher Titan. So he has 12 attacks, and I'm going to say those are all the little spirits things that are going after him. And then his stomp will be that giant staff that he's going to bonk you on the head on. So a total of 18 attacks. But
That's a lot of damage.
That's it. Yeah, he's got to get into combat.
It's only 18 attacks.
But as you said, if you can shoot him off the board before I get to you, because he is slow.
He
moves
works
8
in my favor.
On a good day. Next to him is the general for the army, the Vampire Master. So he is riding a skeleton dragon, which actually gives him 18 additional wounds. So he is toughness 21.
He's on the wrong side of the board for my cannon.
He's got a lot of wounds, but we are playing heavy damage.
Are we? Okay.
We are. I found that it helps with some of the big critters to tone them down a bit.
That is true. We did figure that out in that big multiplayer game.
So you only have to take off 12 wounds, and he might run away.
Yeah.
So it's not so bad.
That's true.
He's rocking a heavy halberd, so 3 attacks, AP 1 rending, and then the dragon itself, the bone dragon, has stomp, heavy claw, and putrid bite. I upgraded him with heavy armor, so he also has protected, ignoring the first AP when he's attacked. And I gave him insatiable hunger, so he already has furious, and now it goes off on a 5 or a 6 instead of a 6. So he is an absolute melee monster. I just need to make sure he actually gets in melee. Then moving on, next 2 units, a unit of 10 zombie wolves. These aren't werewolves, they're the chaff. So they're only quality 5, defense 5. They are fast and furious, and they get 2 attacks, but no rending whatsoever.
So which one of them is Vin Diesel?
The Vin Diesel is the front one who's not on the base, because that way he can detach if he needs. Right. And Paul Walker's the one behind him.
Who's howling?
I don't know. But they literally are fast and furious, so there you have it. So yeah, they're kind of my chaff. Next to them is a unit of drained soldiers, represented by the ghost, the Dead of Dunharrow from Lord of the Rings. I really like those models, and I like the ghostly kind of look to them. So I'm running them as drained. So they're drained. They got no blood. They got no bones. They're drained. Gave them all. What did I give them all? They got spears. So I gave them spears. 1 attack. They got counter, and they are joined by a skeleton champion. So the guy in the front. One thing I should point out, which is going to hold true for your army as well, because we're attaching a hero, there's a stray guy following along in behind.
Yeah, I just have that marked on a couple of bases.
Yeah. So the first wound is I'm not going to remove a model, but there they are. The skeletal champion in there, he is going to have a cursed heavy halberd, so 3 attacks, 1 AP, reap, and rending. And then the very last unit is another unit of skeletal guard that I'm going to have to reduce down to just 1 row, because I confused them with the other skeleton warriors, which can go in a unit of 20. So same thing, they got spears. They are joined by another skeleton champion, and this one has a cursed heavy great sword. 3 attacks, AP 3, and reap. So for the mission, we're doing domination, which means once armies are deployed, we have to set up 4 objectives equally spaced. So the official rules say take the no man's land, basically divide it into 4 equal pieces and put an objective in the dead center of each. We decided to go with like rectangular divisions. We could have done quarters, and then there would have been 2 objectives on John's side and 2 on mine. But instead, we're fighting over 4 objectives, dead center. So there's 1 here in the ruins, 1 right in the middle of that open part of the field, skipping over the hot spring, another one in this open part of the field, and then the last one is just peeking out of the ruins right there.
Our armies are a little too slow to get into the other person's deployment.
That's true. Anyways. Yeah, that's not going to work. So it's a progressive scoring. So every round you get 1 objective, 1 point for every objective you hold. You get another point if you hold more than your opponent, at least at the end of the game. I don't know if it's every round. We'll check that out. And that's that. So Undead won the roll-off. We'll come back after the movement phase. So at the end of turn 1 movement, we'll give you an overview and we'll talk about some of the issues we've already run into. So as far as the Undead, the skeletons pivoted to move up to hold that objective. The drained soldiers move up in support. Vampire Master leapt forward to control that objective. And we ran into our first interesting thing. Scout
is incredibly powerful.
Is amazing because the wolves could scout up 12 inches and then they're fast. They just charged across the entire battlefield. Turn 1, boom, tapped into his guys there. Then over here, these the zombies, because they're slow, weren't able to move up. They moved their full movement and they're still out of range of that objective. So I had the skeletons leap forward to hold the objective there. Yep. And the Titan he's slow, so he pivoted and moved as best he could, but he's not moving very fast. Yep. Ran into another example of Scout, but then we ran into the potential danger of it.
Yeah, so this is why it's not necessarily a huge problem. he was able to scout forward 12 and instantly charge to turn off impact on these guys and get that turn 1 slingshot. However, as a second player now, I just have this unit just pivot charge. So like there's a balance to it.
Yeah, and it's a flank charge, so that's nasty. What will be very interesting though is all 3 of those units count as being in one combat, so all casualties are done simultaneously. So it's possible that I'll wipe out your centaurs and then get wiped out by your infantry. So we'll have to figure that one out. As far as the Havoc Dwarves.
So the lone centaur champion ran off there for the objective. The rhinos moving there to be obnoxious. The artillery, the cannon, the one artillery that's not indirect, shuffled forward so I can see the giant. And then the shooters are just getting ready to defend that hot spring with their lives. And the only other thing to note, another question we have, the caster used a shooting magic attack to hit the unit, because with this it's moving and shooting and charging. We weren't sure if that's
I think
intended.
It would be because it specifically says all magic has to be done in the movement phase. So can you cast in close combat? I'm going to say yes. It's a shooting attack, but it's still magic, and it was to great effect. He almost wiped out an entire rank of wolves. So even though I got the charge off, he killed half of them before I got in there. So very different dynamic here.
Yeah, so you think of it like an assailment spell in the world. So like it's like a shooting attack.
And your other artillery just stayed put?
Yep. Yeah, these 3 are all going to just start bombing that dragon, hopefully. The flame spirits only went up 1, so they can try and toast the skeletons on the objective.
And that actually brings up the last question we ran into, which...
Does initiative switch?
Does it switch? Or
do we roll for it?
Yeah, is Undead going first all the time? I looked, it doesn't say anywhere that you re-roll to see who goes first, but if you don't, it means 1 dice roll basically gives one army a huge advantage to control the momentum of the battle. So we'll see how it plays out. Maybe that should be something we'll house rule, but let's finish the test battle before we start changing stuff. Moving on to shooting, I have none, so we're going to come back and just see how many undead are now actually dead. So in the most one-sided shooting phase in history, because I have no shooting. So you can see this unit of Skeletal Guard got beat pretty bad, especially by those flamethrowers. So they're now down to 3, but they did manage to pass their morale, so they're going to hold still there. What else did you shoot at?
Shot at
those guys ran. Those guys up there ran, so they couldn't.
Yeah, they ran, so you couldn't fire his pistol, try and make them run. The shotguns, I forgot, are 9-inch range, so they're actually out of range, can't shoot. The rifleman plinked off a couple, 4 skeletons off of there. And then the big cannon shot your giant, and the giant did not care.
The giant managed to save it. So some serious damage on the left flank, right flank, some peppering here and there. But now we move into melee. So we're going to have 1 battle here, and then a much larger one here. And we'll see if by the end of this melee phase, if there's a bunch of big gaps in the lines. So after the melee phase, undead suck. That's just all it is. The wolves killed 1 dwarf and then were obliterated down to just 1 left. And over here you'll notice there is a big hole and it's werewolf shaped. So the werewolves, my dice were just terrible. So I lost 9 wounds worth of werewolves and I killed 1 person.
Tell you 10.
10?
Because it was the 3 guys plus 1.
Oh yeah, plus wounds on the alpha there. He's only down to 4 wounds. So yeah, I thought that charge in was going to really help out, but it didn't. So, and then I managed to actually pass the morale test on both of them, which was pretty amazing. But yeah, my heavy hitters just got knocked out of the game.
You forgot to factor in your dice rolls.
That's true. I should get an extra 10% points just to try and balance the scales. So that is the end of turn 1. The lines have already clashed a little bit. We'll have to see how things go. Scoring-wise, I have 3 objectives, and John has 1. So moving on to turn 2. Turn 2 movement. Pretty much everything's just combat for days. So the skeletons, if I didn't charge in, they get shot. So they went charging in and then got countercharged by the golems. The drain soldiers decide to go in and see if they can do something against those elite infantry. The vampire master leapt forward to take out the shotguns. I had my wolf pinning down that other unit of infantry, but in the magic phase, John blew him away and was then able to charge in. Over here, the zombies moved up to kind of really secure that objective. I tried for the second time to cast a spell that's Blast 12, but failed to get it. So unfortunately, all I got left then is for my other unit of skeletons to go charging in there. And then they were countercharged by the Rhino, not Hydra, by the Rhino. Yeah, they're just charging for days here.
Oh, yeah. It looks like a Hydra, but they just put all the heads together into a giant horn at the front.
And then battering ram. My werewolf is going to try and kill off that 1 wound bull centaur to maybe just weaken that unit a little bit. And the giant is still lumbering forward to try and get into the fight at all. So, lots and lots of combat, but unfortunately I do have an exposed unit that's going to get 3 different rounds of shooting, and the giant's going to get shot as well. We'll come back and show you if there's anything left.
So that was incredibly disappointing.
For John, the dice were kind to me. So
all 3 artillery units shot at the zombies, and between the 3 of them, they killed a grand total of 3 models.
It was like, what, 6 dice total you got to roll, and you only hit on 1.
Yep.
But then it killed 3 guys.
And then the riflemen killed as many, another 3.
So back rank depleted, and then the
cannon continues to just do nothing.
Just missed totally.
Yep.
So stay of execution, but lots and lots of melee. Let's see how things look afterwards. After the melee phase, as can be expected, the skeletons here no longer exist. This battle was actually bad for me. I lost way more than he did. But these drain soldiers suck. They're quality 5, defense 5 going against elites that were what? Quality 3?
Quality 3, defense 4.
Defense 4.
With a champion in there with a big old axe.
Yeah, so that wasn't so good. Over here, this guy's an absolute melee monstrosity.
The shotgunners did not
do well.
Then again,
he was going into archers, so okay, you had a melee monster going into that, and he survived pretty well. Took 3 damage, I think.
3 total, yeah.
3 damage against there, so he's still hanging around. Over here, the skeletons didn't take too bad of a beating, but they didn't inflict a lot of damage. They're not an aggressive unit.
They did kill 4 guys.
They killed 4.
The Reap on the champion killed 2 of them, but yeah.
And then lost a bunch to the Rhino to the side. And then my werewolf is gone, freeing up those cavalry to rampage. So hopefully the giant here can step in and try and balance that out. So at the end of turn 2, the left flank is crumbling for the undead. The right flank is still pretty much contested. You got an additional...
I have 2 points.
2 points? I get 2 points.
I don't think you're in range of this one.
Well, it's sticky.
Oh, it's sticky.
They're sticky objectives. Okay. Once you have them, you can move on. So, moving on to turn 3. So movement in turn 3. The sneaky elementals here are going to go for a long sweep at that objective. I charged in because I don't have a whole lot else to do, and then of course was open to a counter charge. My only alternative was to basically back up, but then I'd just get charged. Over here, Vampire Master has pivoted and charged into those elite. Hopefully he can wipe them out and then start moving in on the left flank. And then over here, I finally got the spell to go off.
Killed 8 dwarves.
Killed 8 dwarves, blast 12, and then charged into the guns, but then was charged in the rear by the rhino. So that wasn't too good. And unfortunately, it also left it open for the bulls here to steal that objective from me. We made a slight mistake back here when I failed morale, those skeletons wouldn't be shaken, so we went back and rolled undead, and now there's 1 wound left on 1 guy. And then the little engine that could is still trying to get into combat, and he's not succeeding. So he's just going to camp out there for a little bit. On to shooting. We'll see if he's still around, because everything else I have is locked in melee. So we'll come back after shooting. So after combat over here, I think I killed 1 or 2.
You killed 1 guy.
1 guy. Over here, the zombies did pretty good. They wiped out a whole rank of the gunners, and they survived the attack in the rear from the rhino. Here, almost obliterated a unit of elites, but not quite. They passed their morale, so they're still in the fight. And then over here, the poor drained soldier ghosts are just holding on for dear life.
They killed a couple more dudes.
They killed a few, but, nothing to really write home about.
And the shooting phase.
Yeah, and in the shooting phase, thank you for reminding me.
Blinked off 3 wounds.
3 wounds off the giant. So when we come back to objectives, I now only hold 1, and John holds 3. So he is starting to make a comeback.
I think we're tied now.
Yep. Moving on to turn 4. Started turn 4. The tide has, I think, officially turned.
It crept up on you like the dwarves.
It did. So I turned and charged into those infantry just because they're weaker. I have a better chance of killing more. They're going to get... And then I flanked the elites here.
Yep.
But unfortunately doing that put me out of range of that objective, which John has now seized. So now he holds most of the objectives. And we were tied last turn. Over here, I cast a spell with my Necromancer, did some damage on the Rhino, and charged into the gunners, but then had cavalry hit me in the rear. The impact is probably going to wipe me out. The Grim Reaper keeps going in, flank charge, but he then is rear charged. He's going to die, freeing up that unit. And finally, the Titan has charged into the Bull Centaur. He'll probably kill him. I feel pretty confident about that. And then it'll be a giant versus artillery duel for that last objective in the next round, if there is a next round. Is there any shooting?
There's no shooting, but the caster here did put -1 to hit on the dragon.
Oh, yeah.
So
and
there's a very slight chance I may survive.
There is. Okay, let's. There's no shooting because I'm all locked in combat, so let's get straight to melee. So a lot happened.
A lot of stuff died.
A lot of stuff died. Over here, as you can see, a lot of stuff died. Ghosts are down to just 1 Lone Ranger.
To be fair, that was only like 3 guys that died. It's just there's not the movement trays.
Right. I managed to block him from going in there. Again, the Vampire Lord, he can kill a lot. He just couldn't wipe out.
The -1 to hit.
Yeah, the -1 to hit saved your guys.
It saved a lot.
But unfortunately, all the melee here gave time for the elementals to sneak around and snag the objective. Over here, the impact pretty much cleared out the zombies, and then the attacks finished them off, and the zombies did absolutely nothing in return. And the Grim Reaper couldn't survive against getting charged in the rear by a Rhino. He did okay. And oddly enough, a Rhino does not have impact.
Or
someone
or
explained
like
that to me. And then over here, the Giant was able to make short work.
I was so proud. I hit 3 times with the Bull Centaur champion, and we figured out where all of Chris's 6s went.
Yeah, I rolled 3 6s to save. So that objective is contested, but John now holds 3 of the 4 objectives. He has launched solidly into the lead, and all I have left are
the
2 beefy boys.
And a 1 wound skeleton.
And my Vampire Master is now -1 quality because he is degrading. He's lost 6 wounds. So that's unfortunate. Roll a dice. We might not actually go on.
I don't know if you want to go on.
But we do. We'll come back after it's over. All right, turn 5. We just did the whole turn. So
he took 3 guys with him before he died.
He did. He was brave lass, whatever. But he's dead. Vampire Master managed to wipe out the elementals.
Exactly deleted.
That was impressive. And then he took a little bit of damage from the side. But I am holding that objective again. These guys just sat pretty. And the artillery piece is gone. So the Giant, I mean, he stomped 2 things, but there's no way he's going to do much else. On a 5+, we go on again.
That's a 6.
I cannot kill those 2 little guys, but I did manage to wipe out with the Vampire Master the last 2 and re-seize control of the objective. And then over here, the Giant took quite a beating, but he wiped out that unit. They failed the morale and ran after taking a beating, and the Centaurs are down to just the hero. and the Rhino is shaken. So everyone's got quite a bit of a bloody nose. However, John decidedly has board control. He still has all his artillery and everything. So unless we roll a 6, no. So that's the end of it. And although I got 2 objectives, you had 2. Is that a push?
It's been a push for the past 2 turns.
And we evened out again.
Well, no, because there's one turn where I counted having all 4, and I only had 3 because you were holding. So I have to do the math. I think it's either a draw or you might have beaten me by 1.
I think it was a draw.
Yeah.
But when I'm editing, no, I won't see because we didn't record it all.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, that was fast and furious. When did we start playing?
12:30.
Yeah.
So like 2 hours?
2 hours. But a 3,000-point game in 2 hours of rank and flank? So, quick post-game commentary. The phase thing, doing the move, shoot, fight rather than activate unit.
I liked some parts of it. My artillery basically had nothing to do for most of the game, and it definitely, I think, punishes shooty armies.
Mm-hmm. Part of that is could be the board. There is it specifies in the rules that if you have a unit on a hill or elevated, they can ignore one unit that's in front, so you could still shoot at stuff beyond.
Well, but it's just the fact that once
they get in combat,
you do movement then charge. Your stuff was in combat the entire game, so even if I had line of sight, I had nothing to shoot at.
And part of that's because I was playing Undead. I had no shooting.
Yeah,
whereas if I did, we'd have like artillery duel or something going on.
But yeah, 4 or 5 of my units had basically nothing to do the entire game. We definitely have to figure out what's going on with that initiative, because the one guy, if it's played where the one guy keeps initiative the entire game, the second player it's a very passive, reactive game, which is not super fun.
Yeah.
And because the bull centaurs with the whole impact and furious and all that, they didn't get to do anything until turn 5 because you were able to.
And since melee's simultaneous, there's not a huge advantage. It's not like you can get a double turn or anything.
No, but for the units that are built towards charging, it's rough, and for some of the shooting stuff, and so we'll have to double check that. I have an inkling I haven't read the rules for this yet. Chris did, but I have an inkling that it's supposed to be you still roll for initiative, and then the phase movement and stuff separate, which would make sense to me. Overall, I did like it though. It definitely, I think it did make the game go a lot faster.
It made the game go a lot faster. It did feel more like a rank and flank.
Yeah.
It always seemed odd to me when you're doing rank and flank and I activate a unit and you activate a unit. That kind of, sparring just doesn't fit massive battle lines moving. So I might try it again. In fact, I will try it again, see what some other folks think. Let me know what you thought down below. Do you think that it kind of gets too far away from what OnePageRules is trying to work with, or did you think it was interesting? You'll give that a shot. Also, let me know what you think about the Batrep. Bigger battles, but smaller Batreps, just so that there's not these massive, huge videos that probably most people aren't watching clear through to the end, though I do appreciate those of you who do. So, until next time, folks, keep your dice on the table. Let me know if you thought this new phased combat was good enough.